Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you gotta get cut. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun. Good morning. Oh, you know what, guys? That's so funny. Hold on a second. Okay, I've been messing around with my OBS setup and I did not catch all of the seeds. Oh, that's so funny. There we go. I don't know what happened here because it's not. I don't know. It zoomed in too much. I don't know what changed. It's kind of weird. Oh, you know what it is? It's the crop because I'm doing 4K 60. Okay. You know what? Maybe I'll change that back to 30. Anyways, good morning, everybody. Let's start the music here. We got news coming out right now here. Continued our initial jobless claims, 196K versus 190K, slightly higher than expected. Market is moving on it a little bit here. You say the audio is funky? Whoa, hold on. You're right. Oh, why do I have the cam? Why is the cam link giving me audio? That is super weird. Oh, that is so super weird. Yeah, whatever. Cool. Yeah, sorry about that. So what happened is, you know what? I really want to change this. Let's do this other stuff first. I finally went through and like really tried to figure out what's the deal with my setup here. Why is it not like, why can't I record through? And what I decided to do was, instead of using the USB streaming, instead of using the USB streaming, I'm using the Camlink 4K. So the camera is running 4K. I don't know if you can tell, it does look quite a bit better that way. And maybe I'll just do the vertical layout recording bit. I don't know. But yeah, that's what that's all about. It does look quite crisp. Thank you. The issue, what I just learned was, well, not learned, but just from testing, I guess you could say, what I figured out was that when multiple sources tried to use the NVENC encoder, that's what was crashing it. But there was like an FF-MPEG version of the NVENC encoder that was available to me, and when I use that one, it doesn't crash. So right now, at the moment, it's recording both and all of that. So should look good. But what I just realized, because I was like, oh, we should do it in 60 frames per second. But I forgot that if you want to do 60 frames per second, the Sony a7 IV does an image crop. So, I mean, I could just deal with the image crop, but I don't feel like that I actually get enough out of doing it at 60 frames per second anyways. So I'm going to change that. Even at 24, that's just a little bit too much. Little bit too much. Oh, and let's adjust this. And if I do the grid lines, that's good. That's good. So now I guess I could. So the issue that I was dealing with last night is that if I try and record the full 4K coming out of the camera, it like the resulting file is choppy. I don't know if it's like the system just can't handle 4K or what, but the 4K doesn't work. But now I'm thinking, oh, you know what I should do is I should just instead of recording out the camera to 1080p, I should record out the camera to the vertical format. This is what I should do. I think so. I'm gonna do that. I don't know. Geez. So today is tough. Okay, we should get into the actual trading, yeah? Sorry, guys. Okay, so coming over here into the charts, Treasuries yesterday, we had a lot of hawkish Fed speak and so forth. So throughout most of the morning, it was moving down, but then going into the end of the day, we closed higher. Or maybe I should zoom in here a little bit, right? Now this right here, there was an auction and there was also Kashkari speaking. So there was that spike. It came back down and then into the close, into the close of the extended session, we rose. And now here this morning, we're even a little bit higher. So yields are now down below 3.6. So that's really curious that like the one thing that would be moving rates, Fed speak and everything. Well, it did move rates, but then in the end, I guess demand from the auction and so forth was a bigger deal. That's a really surprising result that we're really gonna have to note, right? Coming back here, so then you come to the S&P 500, and the S&P 500 was selling most of the day, right? But then check it out here in the overnight, they're recovering, and again, the Fed speak wasn't that bad, so maybe equities can hold these prices. Here we got oil. Oil's having a little bit of a sell here this morning. Natural gas still just down there. Gold and silver still sideways, man. Talk about like a bear flag. Doesn't mean that it'll move up or down from here, but man, it's really just after that it's just sideways. Copper also kind of meandering, but up this morning. The dollar, however, looks like it's getting crushed this morning. Yep, back below 102. And Bitcoin having a little bit of a tumble this morning, but overall moving up. And if the dollar is going to be moving down, that's probably going to be good for like all assets, right? So that's where we're at. Okay, so the first thing is, why does the cam link have that extra sound? Audio output mode capture, audio only. No, I just don't want any sound. Well, I will hide this. Cool. Okay, good morning, Patu. By the way, so many people right at the beginning. Thank you so much. Steven, Brad. I am the radio. Everything sounds good now, though, right? So yeah, I think I'm going to tools. Oh no, what was it called? Vertical. There we go. That's way better. Of course, to do that one, I need to be like zoomed out all the way like that. Very good. And then what would we do here? We would, oh, well, let's see here. There's a couple of different ways for me to do this, but I think that the way that I will do it is, first of all, I will mute the one over here. And let's double check that stops the recording over here. Yes, it does. And then one of the settings of this. No, I don't think I want to use the train recording. I think, let's see, if I come over to vertical, can I add filters on top of the verticals? Yes, I can. Streaming over here. Okay. Also on this, does it automatically add my filter? Yes, it does. Lovely. Okay, so for that now, how do I get it to start here? Oh, no, you know what it is. It's not going to the right spot. Yeah, it died for a second. That one was just, I've found that when you like mess with OBS settings sometimes, that you get that. You get OBS crashes. Well, we should be back. Because I'll reload this over here as well. Yeah, I think that's good. We'll try that. Well, that upside action that we got immediately following the news has retraced here. So we do have a 30-year auction today, but what happened yesterday has me a little bit, you know, I just, the buyers won out in the end. Like those passive buying flows was like a really surprising result to me. Kind of makes me wonder about what I should actually be doing here today. And since the news that we just got wasn't too big, you know, that really makes me question if it's really worth it to me to try and get involved today. Of course, if we really start to see some strong flows come in, then that could change. And I should note that we did see some pretty strong movement in the short end of the curve, in the 5-year. So there's definitely some people playing. All right, next thing is I need to finish my breakfast. So I'm gonna do that. Looking at how heavy the offers are in the 10s. Yeah, but well, there's those two big ones up there, right? Although I think that those are just kind of like the even number ones in this particular case. I don't know if that's anything significant or not. Certainly I don't think that I should be trying to judge direction based just off those. One thing I should note, though, that's different from yesterday is that we are getting some movement in the spreads early on here. Looks like we're getting some flattening here. You can see the 30 years is up on the highs and the 5 years kind of more in the middle. Oh, you know what? Something else I need to, well, I have to do it later. I was gonna say, with the whole vertical thing, I don't know if it will record it correctly. It will record it in the correct orientation. I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see. Okay, Fed's barking. Data continues to put back the risk of a recession. Okay, Fed Warkin just said the key question for 2023 is whether or not inflation is truly calming, and you did see a little bit of selling and some absorption at 23.5 there off of that headline. Okay, what are your favorite sources for news? Well, so I use Financial Juice as my news squawk. I have an affiliate link in the video description. If you're gonna day trade, I'd highly recommend getting a news squawk if you can afford it. I mean, I understand it's like $70-$100 a month. That's a lot for when you're just starting out, but that's probably the most useful service you can get. Okay, so affiliate link in the description. For just general financial news, I mean, there's so many of them, and on the general kind of news that you get, any of them are probably fine. But one that stands out to me is Zero Hedge. Now, I understand Zero Hedge has a lot of partisan political content that is at times really, frankly, quite crazy. So, for instance, this morning, the most recent story on Zero Hedge when I was eating lunch was this article that advocated. I think that. Well, I'm gonna keep my task manager over here to check, but I think that we were maybe just overloading the encoder, because when I look at it right now, I'm using 66% of video encode. So maybe I need to go and buy a separate encoder of some sort. The Matrix is attacking. You guys can hear me now, right? Should be back. May have to refresh. Yeah, okay, it's back. Okay, so what was I saying about Zero Hedge? Okay, so this morning, the lead story on Zero Hedge was we should get rid of the Federal Reserve and just let the 2-year rate control things. That would be terrible. Okay, because you need a mechanism that helps you get out of a recession, right? So if you don't have any control over the 2-year rates, then anytime that you try and stimulate the economy, the interest rates are going to raise, and it's going to cancel out everything that you do, right? So it would be a very, very bad idea to let it run like that, right? But I digress. So the whole thing is, Zero Hedge has a lot of partisan content, so I understand why a lot of people wouldn't want to go there. But they also post a lot of content about what major analysts are saying and what's going on with the gamma and other market positioning sort of things, which are extremely useful, valuable, actionable information. So I would recommend you subscribe to Zero Hedge's, at least their basic plan, and just ignore the partisan stories. So there's nowhere else that I know of that you can get research like that. If there was an alternative posting that kind of deep analysis, I'd be all over it. But none of the other places that I've tried or looked at have that. So that's the other news source that I'd recommend you keep an eye on is Zero Hedge. And even their Twitter, I can't see their Twitter though. They blocked me on Twitter. Okay, done eating. Hello, Ilya. Do you ever use a volume bar chart? I mean, I personally have never used that outside of just messing with them in NinjaTrader. I think like one of the key things here, I think, in terms of like, what market data are you actually looking at, right? I think the most important thing that you want to see is what are the market orders doing? Are they buying or selling, right? So I have multiple ways that I can see that up here, right? Because I can see it on the DOM, and then I can also see it on my chart with cumulative delta, right? Now, the market orders and price tend to be in line with each other, but not always. So there's a little bit of nuance in there. So volume bars, where it makes a new bar every 1,000 volume or something like that, can be, can kind of help you see that sort of stuff. And then maybe you put on like a bar delta or something like that, so you can see how much of that volume was market buys versus market sells and so on and so forth, right? And that might tell you some things, especially about like how much volume is it actually taking to move the market, because that's another key point, is like when the liquidity is pulling in, so it doesn't take very much to move price, right? So I'm not going to say that volume bars are useless or anything. It's just I don't use that. And but the one thing I will say is that when you're doing like back testing and stuff like that, I highly recommend sticking to time-based indicators. how do institutions view price action? Well, so first of all, you got to realize that the big guys are playing a fundamentally different game, right? So what they use and the strategies and tools that they use are not necessarily the way that you should do it, okay? But there are a lot of things that they do use that I think are really, really useful for a retail trader. And the first one is that they execute on a DOM. They absolutely do. And they have very advanced DOMs that have some of these same kind of features where there's a column that will show you the market orders at each price and so on and so forth, right? So that's a key thing that they look at. And I mean, they do have charts. At least the people that I talked to and saw, they had charts up on their screen, but I don't think that they were really focusing too much on the charts per se. And one thing that I remember the person that I talked to the most telling me was that they really liked it when they were getting certain bar patterns where the bars were turning in on themselves. So that could mean like inside bar, or just, you know, the last bar was up and this bar was down, and then the next bar after that is up, you know, going back and forth. And the reason that they liked that this is really frustrating. So I turned them all off so that we shouldn't get that again. I'm just disappointed because I really want to record the streams on my end, and it just the source record thing keeps flattening it. Yeah. Oh, we were talking about, yeah. Yeah, no, what changed between yesterday and today is that I tried recording stuff. So, and then the second time, because I was recording two sources, right? I was recording, well, I mean, there's like the main stream, and then I was also recording the, sorry. I was doing the main stream, and then I was also saving to file the main screen and the camera. Right. And when I was looking at the video encode, I was never above 60%, but it still crashed. So I just turned it off. That we shouldn't crash again. And we'll have to look again. I have a couple of other choices. Like I think I can like encode to AV1 and stuff like that. So maybe we can try that. Maybe there's something about it that it doesn't like the really big files or something. I don't know. Super frustrating, man. Okay. Anyways, I was just saying that this one particular person, they had a chart up, and it was because they were looking for kind of chart patterns where it would turn in on itself as an indication of areas where there was lots of liquidity for them to execute against. Okay. But the DOM, so Uzi had said that DOM would have more pragmatic use for large institutional traders than it does for us. Yes, because number one, they kind of care like where they are in the queue. The whole thing is they want to get at the beginning of the queue. So seeing where you're at, that's like the key thing for them, right? The other thing though that I would say that's even more than that is that these institutional traders usually have like algo assisted market making algorithms that are trading with them, that are putting orders at every price. So they need to be able to manage the orders at every spot. How would you do that on a chart and everything. It would just, you'd have like too much crap all over your screen, right? The DOM is really the only practical interface to like manage all of that stuff. And then on top of all of that, you have multiple instruments, right? And so with the DOM, you get all of the information that you need all in one spot within the radius of where your eye is looking, you know, and you have complete control over all of the orders. You can very easily change all of that with just one click, right? So yeah, it's a very compact interface. So, I mean, I think that those are some of the big driving factors behind why institutions like to use the DOM. But I think that the other side of it is that the DOM is a really effective way to just show the orders. And so the DOM is really the only complete way that I know of that really lets you see everything. I mean, there's not a piece of information on here that there's not some other tool that will show it to you per se, but the DOM is like the most complete way, right? Like I can go and I can put cumulative delta over on a chart, but that doesn't necessarily tell me how many orders it took to clear 20 half last time we were there, for instance, right? I can only see that with, well, not, it's not that I could only see that with the DOM, but I don't know very many tools that do that, right? And something that would show me that and all of the limit orders and all of the instruments, you know, there's just nothing does it all, right? So that's why I feel like the DOM is your most valuable tool. You know, if I had to choose, you know, I could only trade with only the DOM or with only the charts. Of course, I would choose only the DOM, right? And to deal with seeing what the market orders are doing over a larger time frame, I would just turn on the power bars. Yeah. So yeah. I'm still stuck thinking about I'm still thinking about how I want to save all of this stuff to disk. I bought a disk drive specific. Well, I mean, I needed the space anyways, but part of it was that I wanted to be able to save the recordings so that I had better quality to do edits on TikTok with. I don't know how to get this to work. And I would be like, screw it, let's just keep messing with it until we get it to work. But you guys have been asking me good questions this morning that we want to talk about. I didn't even get to react to Ismail saying that he's got Sierra charts up and he's going to start trying to trade it. So that's cool. Well, and the other thing here is, I mean, we didn't move that much. We really didn't move that much overall, but there is definitely something going on with the yield curve here. Oh, you just need to figure out your account. Yeah. The way that I like to do it is, you know, you start an account and then you just trade as sim. Right? So that then you're getting the data. Yeah. Oh, gotcha. So you just have to wait for them to clear. That's good that you haven't had any issue. I know a lot of people, although you're in the UK, aren't you? I forget what country. I remember that you were from Europe, but I forget what country it was. I've had some people from foreign countries that had like really big problems, you know, getting things to work. Especially if you live like Salim, for instance, NASDAQ trader or whatever that comes in here. It's not here yet today, He lives in Morocco, where like futures trading is just like not allowed. Yeah, the US UK relationship is being good as helps. The UK laws on that sort of stuff are kind of weird to me though. Like I really don't understand why they allow spread betting. I don't think that spread betting should be allowed. Well, you know, when price skips up or down because of illiquidity, why are there so many instances during intraday trading where that happens? Is that because of volatility, or are those illiquid holes causing the volatility? Well, so if we're just talking about you're watching the DOM here and there's the Treasury, and you know, normally it will tick up one tick and then back down one tick, but then all of a sudden you might have this thing where it immediately goes up 2 or 3 ticks and then comes back or something like that, right? I think one of the key things to realize here that I didn't realize at first is that there aren't actually that many major market makers out there, which is to say that like if you see 2,000 being offered out at a price, that might be like the majority of that might be 3 market makers with 500 contracts each, right? So it doesn't take very much for all of those market makers to all get the same signal and say, oh, I need to pull my orders, and then see price move very easily. And it can just kind of be like a freak thing sometimes. In all of your DOMs, what is a white bar? It's just a white bar. So a key thing here that you'll see me, I'll say, let's reset things. So if I click this button up here, so over here in ES, I'll click it, this far left button. If I click that, it will recenter the DOM where it is right now, right? Now, if I right click it, if I right click any of these buttons, all of my DOMs will recenter, right? So the reason that white line is there is just as a visual indicator of that was where the bid offer was at last time that I clicked that button, right? Yep, to keep it as a placeholder. And so that's how I'm able to read like changes in the spread, right? Is I'm able to say, okay, look, since I reset it, this one is up 1, this one is up 2, and this is only up 1, right? So I know that since we've been having flattening all day, there was a slight bit of steepening, that's reverting a little bit now, right? So that what's that all about? And it's also can be for in the ES, because I don't necessarily care where the ES is relative to these other ones because they're like spreading. But you know, I just, when it was the last time that I really actively looked at it, right? Where was it at? Oh, okay, so now we're down here, right? I'd be curious to quantify the total number of limit orders added and subtracted within the day's range relative to the amount of volume executed for the day. Yeah. But the issue with that is that those data series appear to have like a ton of noise added to them. So I don't know if it would be consistent over a day's period or not. I guess that would be kind of a key part of the question for the study that we would do if we were to measure that. But I'm going to bet that it would vary quite wildly from day to day, because you will just you'll get these points where there's like all of these small little orders doing something, and it's something that when you're watching the DOM, when I'm watching the DOM, I don't even notice it. But then my indicators, my NinjaTrader indicators that you can get at speculatorseth.com do kind of catch those. I mean, it's something that I should be able to see with the DOM, but it's just I don't think to go in there and say, oh yeah, like there was a bunch of one lots kind of all moving around in here a ton in that one time period, and I don't know what that was about, you know? It feels like we have these tens of thousands of orders put on the book and like 80%. Yeah. Well, And the other thing there is that, like I said, these institutional traders, they have these algorithms that are putting orders at every price. And from what I could tell, the primary reason to be putting orders at every price was to have priority in the queue. They're putting those orders in there just in case they decide in the future to execute there. But if the trader decides to not do anything, then the algorithm just auto pulls it before it gets executed. So it is key, like you do want to watch the limit orders. I mean, there's things that you can see about the limit orders for sure, but really what we're doing is we're comparing what the limit orders were to how much we actually saw traded there, right? That's why I'm always pointing out, okay, we ticked up or we ticked down. How many contracts did it actually take to tick down? If it was like 1,400 contracts, then that means that more of the orders, it means that most of the orders that were sitting there took the fill, right? I heard that a lot of funds make money on their fees rather than speculation. Is that true? I would imagine that there would be sophisticated algos that profit seek. So that kind of comes down to what kind of a fund you're talking about, right? So when we're like scalping here, you know, we're talking primarily about high frequency trading market makers, right? But there's also like index funds, for instance, right? And the guy that trades an index fund, he makes his money based on a small percentage of the overall assets under management, right? So if there's $1 trillion under management, he maybe makes 0.5%. Or like the firm as a whole maybe makes 0.5%. And that is a fee that is charged to everybody that is invested in that fund. Excuse me. That must be telling me that my throat is a little dry and I need to drink water. The fee is 2%. Well, I mean, it's different between every fund, right? So, like a no load mutual fund, they're not allowed to charge more than 0.25% fee. And those fees basically go to the people promoting the fund, I guess you could say, right? As opposed to like a hedge fund, where a hedge fund could charge a percentage fee, and then they could also charge you a fee based on how much they made, because if they're using qualified investors, I believe is the correct term, then they can charge a performance fee. They're not allowed to charge regular people a performance fee, but if you're rich, then they can charge you a performance fee. And yeah, it's kind of interesting how that all kind of plays out, because you get in with the hedge funds, and then usually after all of the fees and everything, you're still making what you would in the S&P 500. So that's where I think a lot of people misunderstand hedge funds. The purpose of a hedge fund is not necessarily to beat the index. I mean, you can, but the main reason that you see rich people invest in hedge funds is to diversify. They want returns that are different from what the market returns are. So they're okay with making the same as the S&P 500, as long as it's like when the S&P 500 is down that year, their fund is still up or is still making money, which is not what happened last year, but that's the goal. That's the goal, at least. No, did we get the... So not that any of you guys care about basketball, but here in Utah, there's like a big trade going on in the NBA involving Utah. And the fans really did not like the trade. And as part of the trade, I guess the Jazz get Kevin Durant. But I think that they're going to buy him out and he'll leave and go to wherever it is that he wants to. So I'm checking. I just saw something on Twitter. I'm going to check here real quick to see if there's like more information on this. Doesn't look like it. Oh, it wasn't Durant, it was Westbrook. Buffett stated that you can make a greater return than 90% of the hedge funds by invest. Yeah, I think so. Like after the fees. I mean, it really puts it in perspective how difficult it is to outperform the market when you have a large amount of capital. One big issue that I have is people take that and then and I think that even Buffett was trying to say to some extent that, okay, if the hedge funds can't beat the index, then why would you as an individual investor be able to beat the index, right? And I don't agree with that at all. Because the whole thing is that as a hedge fund, you move the market. I mean, that's the big problem is that the impact of your execution is a huge cost to you. This is, for these index funds, that's a huge cost to these index funds. And that's why there is so much emphasis put in the literature and in the professional world on studying and reducing the impact of your trades. As a retail trader, you don't have to worry about the impact of your trades, and you can take advantage of the impact of other people's trades, right? So the stocks are always going to go higher than they should, and they're always going to go lower than they should, right? So if you are a dedicated and savvy retail investor, you can absolutely outperform the market. And to be frank, if you just invest in a, pick 5 stocks, get a good diversified 5 to 10 stocks, you do your research and everything, you don't like day trade it, but you do adjust your holdings based on what's going on in the market, what's going on with the company and so forth. And if the company is bad now, you switch it over into something else, right? As a savvy person can outperform the market just from sheer luck, because you got like 5 to 10 stocks. The chances that one of those ends up being like a 20 bagger or something like that, are actually pretty good, right? And if you don't catch that one of those big winners, you just get the same return as the rest of the market, maybe a little bit less. Like, that's not a bad deal. I really think that people like way over, slam individual investing in individual stocks way too much. I think that the risk reward to the typical retail trader is crazy in your favor. Like, think about it. Worst case scenario, you perform about the same as the rest of the market. Best case scenario, you like 20x your money. Come on. Why? That's a no-brainer, right? Okay, so I thought that hedge funds execute their position in a thing called a black box or something similar so that they will not impact the market. Okay, so kind of. So in a dark pool, what you can do is you can put out bids or offers without anybody else actually seeing them. So what a dark pool is like, imagine we have our DOM out here. If I go and I put a limit order out at 20, everybody can see that I have a limit order out at 20. So if I'm wanting to buy 100,000 shares or something like that, I'm not going to put that out there because everybody can see it, right? But in a dark pool, that information is not shown. In a dark pool, that information is not shown. So all you have to do is say, this is the limit price that I'm willing to trade it at. And then if there is somebody else out there that wants to do it at the same time, they cross and you have an execution. Okay. But of course, you would still want to have liquidity providers and everything, right? Otherwise, it would just be kind of like a crapshoot. So what happens is there are these market makers out there that will try and arbitrage the dark pool based on the asset that you're looking at, right? So what will often happen with the whole dark pool thing is a dark pool market maker will end up executing a trade with one of those big guys, with one of those big dark pool guys. So now the liquidity provider has this huge tranche. What do they do with it? And often what ends up happening is they turn around and then they sell it back on the primary markets, right? So even though a dark pool is a thing, it doesn't necessarily prevent those orders from having an impact on the market. It just reduces the cost for the first person, but eventually those orders still will filter down into the rest of the market in one way or another, generally speaking, right? So it unfortunately, it's not a complete end run around impact, right? Why doesn't well, not everyone has access to the dark pool. I mean, I'm not really a huge fan of these things, of course, because really what it is like we've set up a nice market and we have all of these good rules and regulation around it and everything. And then what happens is the industry don't like those rules, and then they find some end run around it where they can go and play in their own little sandbox without all of the retail traders and, get away from it. It's totally shady. And then because Congress is just like so far behind everything, they never update the regulations to deal with it. It's really quite stupid. But is there a way to see the liquidity flows? And yes. So at the end of the day, the dark pool is required to report the transactions that happened. So you can go and you can look at the reports and see what happened in the dark pool. Right. Oh, one of the big criticisms that I hear from people over and over that I think is so silly, like it just doesn't make any sense at all, is they come in and they say, well, order flow doesn't matter because there are dark pools. Well, the reason that they say that is because they think that what we're doing is we're watching the volume in here and we're looking in the volume for patterns, and then those patterns tell us which direction it's going to go, and we're making all of our decisions off of that, right? They think that we're doing the same thing with order flow that they're trying to do with price. But if you've been listening to me long enough, you know that that's not what we're doing at all, right? We have an expectation of what the flows are going to be well before they happen. We are predicting the order flows, and watching the order flow helps us identify small tactical locations that we might be able to execute better at, where there is more liquidity for us to deal with, right? And also to confirm that the flows are actually in line with our expectations, right? So to me, I don't necessarily care what happens in the dark pool, right? All I care about is what the flows in my market are doing, right? And if I'm expecting to see volume come through, it should come through in here, right? I mean, if everything happened on the dark pool, then we would never see any action over here. There wouldn't be any volume over here, right? Yeah. They can throw the prints from the dark pool in the morning at 4:07. Yeah, it's kind of silly. So like there's this whole thing, which is like, okay, yes, your market could be fragmented, right? So you might not be seeing all of the order flow for your market, okay? But you don't need to see all of that because this you're not using that order flow as a signal generator per se, right? We have expectations, and we should see the flows within the market that we can see in line with those expectations. I went out and was reading on Reddit because they're trying to defend Joe Biden's lie that the Republican Party wants to cut Medicare and Social Security, and it's just absolute BS. So now they're goalpost moving on me. They're goalpost moving on me. So I said that's not the Republican Party's position. There's no requests from the Republican Party in relation to the debt limit. And they're like, well, yeah, but this one Republican this one time said that. Who cares? He doesn't represent the party. How is the promise of raising rates from the bet? What's making you ask it like that? Or are you asking why is the S&P 500 up today when all of the Fed speak yesterday was super hawkish? That's the interesting question, isn't it? Well, here's what I think is going on. So when you watched yesterday, when we had aggressive Fed speak, we did see the market sell. We did see the Treasury market sell off. It did not sell off nearly as much as I would have liked it to have seen, but they did sell off a little bit, right? Then later in the day, Fedskari, he was a little bit more dovish, but like there was a really big spike up, and I think that spike was the auction, and the 10-year auction once again had really strong demand. So we're getting this really interesting thing where like one auction will be really, really awful, and then the one the next day will be really, really good. So it's like they're all going into the same tenor for some reason. Okay. But it moved really far off of that. And then that retraced, but then before the end of the day, they kind of floated back up to the highs, right? So what that suggests to me is that there are some passive flows coming in here. And when I say passive flows, I mean people that are going to buy it no matter what happens. That there are some really strong passive flows. So again, remember that pension funds are overfunded by almost 20%. That means that they can take 20% of their portfolio and put it into bonds and guarantee that their fund is going to make what it needs to pay the retirees, right? So that's $1 trillion worth of bond buying that you could see this year, regardless of what happens overall, right? So I think that it could be that passive buying holding the Treasury market up right now. And so the result of that is that all of these markets are trying to take cues from each other, and people still have this belief that prices are indicative of all available information and so on and so forth. They're not seeing this over here. They're saying or rather the narrative that you can hear from most traders and most of the market is, well, the treasuries must not think that the Federal Reserve is going to raise rates very high, so that's good for us, and so they buy the equities because of it, and not realizing that it could just be the overfunded pension funds, right? Well, I wouldn't say just retail traders. I mean, it's across the board. It's endemic across the industry, this belief that the market is informationally efficient, right? So the long and short of it is, we're in a situation where I think that prices are very likely to diverge from what the underlying fundamentals actually are, right? Because I think that jobs print in January was too good, and that there's a strong risk of inflation igniting up in the second half of this year. If we're not going to have the recession in the first half of the year that everybody thought we were going to have, then I don't see how you get into the second half of the year and not get the inflation, because you can already see it here in this market. I mean, just the way that you're coming in and asking the question kind of says it all, doesn't it? It's like it buys up and it seems kind of crazy, right? It buys up and it seems kind of crazy. It's like the insane speculative frenzy comes right back almost instantly, right? How can we be in that kind of environment and not get the inflation again? You know? So whatever it is that the equity markets are doing right now, I think that in the end, it's not going to be the final say. I don't think that it's very indicative of what the fundamentals are at all, right? And this is where I'm kind of having a little bit of trouble trying to make up my mind on what I want to trade with the treasuries here today, because, you know, like yesterday I was like, oh, we should sell it, right? And we made like $10 on it, but in the end, the day they ended higher. So really it was the opposite. So should I do that today? Is that same amount of passive buying flow going to be here today? It could be. I don't know. There does appear to be a reasonable amount of absorption here at 21. Like they are leaning on 21, right? Well, S&P 500 has only been open up for 15 minutes. So we'll see where it goes. Yeah, these freaking Reddit, they just drive me crazy. They're like, well, but that one Republican did it, and it was Rick Scott. And I was like, well, okay, number one, the plan that Rick Scott proposed wasn't necessarily about defunding Social Security and Medicare. It was just like all federal programs had to be renewed every 5 years. That wasn't necessarily about just destroying Medicaid. Number two, like, doesn't represent the party's position. So crazy. And then they're like, well, you know, you still have to own what the crazies in your party say. And I'm like, do you really, is that really the standard that you think that we should have in politics? Because like, if that's really the standard, then the Democrat Party is the Communist Party, right? Like, if that's because there's plenty of crazy ideas on the Democrat side. Okay, plenty of crazy bills that get proposed by Democrats, all right? But we all know that they're crazy zany ideas by one individual representative in a you know, far left district that doesn't matter to anything. Seth for president, thank you. I used to be really into politics, but I don't think that I'll ever run for office. I don't think that I would necessarily be very good at it. I think that I can be really good at like explaining what's going on in the politics and helping you predict what's going to happen. I think that I can give really good advice to individual politicians about how to approach, trying to run for office and stuff like that. But I don't think that I would be good at the practical, like actually doing it myself. You can see here on the stream where I have certain challenges with those things, right? Like I have a really good dedicated audience, and I appreciate those of you that are here like literally every day for years and years, which is really in our space really incredibly unique. Okay, so most people give up after a year, right? So to have a group of 1 or 2 dozen people that are here for over 5 years, that's really remarkable, right? But we're not like the popular stream because Seth has certain deficiencies when dealing with people and speaking and so on and so forth. Here we go. Here's the daily. Do you trade for a living? I have a day job. And I would not recommend trying to make day trading your primary source of income. You should have another source of income that is sufficient for your needs first before you try going into day trading. So the issue that I have is I get these kids that are like 19. They're like, okay, I want to be a day trader for a living. Let's start. No, that's not the way that you should approach it. Kid, go and get a normal job first, a real job first, because trading income is really inconsistent. And most traders lose money. So you need to take care of like your sustenance needs first. You don't want to be in a situation where whether you win or lose the next trade is going to determine whether or not you eat, right? You don't want to be in that situation. No. You know the funny thing about that is that I suspect that it's maybe somebody trying to send people over into the stream because they think it's funny to talk about it. But the thing is that none of those other influencers are actually making their primary living from trading, right? They have things that they sell and so forth, right? Some of these other channels, man, they're selling like $1,000 indicator suites and crap like that. Like seriously, all they've got to do is convince 5 suckers to buy that a month, and that's their living, right? Right? And then they claim that they're living off of the trading, but like if they are, then why are they offering the services? I guess maybe if it's a good service, but then if it was a good service, I don't know. Some of these people they sure do market it awfully hard for somebody that claims to be making millions of dollars and stuff. But they can, if maybe it really is just a genuine people want to ask that question and it comes up every day, and I'm more than happy to talk about it every day. 90% of retail day traders lose money. I can teach you a lot of really valuable things that are well beyond the knowledge that you're going to get from most retail traders. Information that I think really give you a fighting chance at being able to be successful with day trading. But at the end of the day, it's still going to be hard. And the majority of you that try to do this will still lose money. And if you are successful, it's probably going to take you 5 years or more to get to that point where you can even consider like maybe you'll be able to do it full time. Okay. So if you're thinking about getting into trading, the first thing is you should have another source of income. That's just straight up. Because otherwise it's big risk, and you're not putting yourself in the best position to be successful at this. So yeah, and I have videos about this subject as well. So like I have one that's about is day trading for you, where I talk about, because futures trading is not suitable for all investors. It's not. Oh, you know, I've been sitting here like I'm missing something. Was gonna do something else. Well, for one thing, I haven't really gone through Twitter here. But how can you have Z job and trade at the same time? Easy. The treasuries open up at 6:30 Mountain Standard Time. Most jobs these days don't really get going until 9 o'clock. That gives you literally 2.5 hours to trade. And quite frankly, I can't sit here and really focus on the DOM for more than 2 hours anyways, right? So yeah, you can totally do it as a hobby, trade 2 hours, and then go to your regular day job. Even if you're on the East Coast, it's maybe not. Maybe if you're on the East Coast, it's maybe doesn't make as much sense. Just move out here to Utah. I don't really want tons of people moving out to Utah, but you guys on the stream, you can move out here. It's okay. I'm actually so one of the things that's going on here in Utah is that there's all of this farmland irrigation out there that are using like all of the water. And so the Great Salt Lake is basically evaporating. Like there's not much of it left out there, and it's a problem because like there's all sorts of heavy metals in the lake itself. So when those heavy metals get deposited on the sand and then a windstorm comes up, it's like, you know, you're breathing in arsenic and stuff. It's not good for the residents' health, right? And we're not sure what's going to happen with it. I mean, I think eventually the alfalfa farming industry in Utah is going to have to go. Because I just don't think that we can give them all of that water. We just can't. But in the meantime, all of the people on the left are trying to make this into this huge deal. It's kind of like, well, like we don't have. Well, first of all, they want to make a big deal over how much water you use when it's really it's the farming industry that uses it all, right? And then they're like, well, the legislature needs to fix this. It's like, what do you expect them to do? You're just going to ban farming here all of a sudden, like, and put like tens of thousands of people out of a living? Come on. So they're kind of like holding up like impossible standards. I don't know if they really think that like helps their political cause in the state or what. But then what they say is, well, I'm going to move. We all need to move. Utah is going to become a ghost town because the lake is drying up, sort of a thing, right? And meanwhile, everybody else in here is like, yes, leave, please. Leave. We don't, right? People in Colorado do the same thing. It's like people like living here, and they're kind of tired of people from California and other places moving in and making it more expensive to buy houses and stuff. The farming industry, you mean? No, it's alfalfa farmers. It's mostly alfalfa that they're farming in there, but it requires a lot of water. So probably what they're going to have to do is set some sort of a limit, like this amount of water has to go into the Great Salt Lake a year, and the farming can only, can't take more than that. And yeah, that's going to like limit how much farms, they're eventually they're going to have to start farming, but you can't just come in and like ban it like from day one, right? It's going to be something that takes a long time for them to sort out. Man, my lips are really chapped. I had a hard time waking up this morning, and I must have been I didn't drink enough water before I went to sleep. The measure of wages for the newly scrutinized core services ex-housing sectors shows annual growth has been steadily declining since 2021, says Nick Timmeros. So some indication that more indications that inflation is abating. These people. There's some of these spammers out there that, like, they will come in and they will try and post a link in every channel, and the built-in Discord filtering will catch every one of those messages, and then I ban them, right? And so you got to think these spammers, that particular spammer must probably is not having very much success on Discord, but they keep doing it. 350 pounds of dogs woke you up at 4:30. Yeah. Well, so the other thing that went on was that Asher was not going to sleep, so I probably only got 6 hours, but that's looking a little aggressive there. No, it's not looking aggressive, but they're just like right on the edge. It's only 7:57. We are seeing the volume start to come through, but it's been so quiet this morning. That's interesting. It looks like that something's happening in the 6J. Oh, did my camera die? Huh. Interesting. The camera shut itself off after, you know, because it had been on for too long. I thought that I had all those turned off. Maybe there's a particular one that you just can't get around. That might make me change it back to just using the USB streaming again. I don't know. Super frustrated by all this. That's super frustrating. You see that right there? Yeah. I put a bid out, nothing happened until somebody took the 06. It looks to me like something was coming through on the 6J. It's kind of already pulling back, but something was happening in the 6J, and that's why we're getting the move down in the treasuries is the primary driver here, because there wasn't a lot of volume to take through each of the prices. Of course, it is a relatively large change relative to the rest of the session, so sure does. The move sure does seem to come out of nowhere, though, doesn't it? And there's another 2 ticks. What does the move down for treasuries mean for equities? Well, so far it doesn't look like the equity market really cares, but a move down in the treasuries could be a negative for equities, because that's going to mean higher interest rates. Higher interest rates is bad, especially for the techs, right? Especially for the high growth companies that have a lot of debt. Yeah. No, I am getting a little bit of counterflow here. At least 1,000 contracts took it bid at 18.5. So I don't think that I can justify getting into trade here. In fact, I think that if I had gotten filled on that one order that I had at 3.605, I'd be like super frustrated right now, right? It's like I only got 5 ticks and then immediately turns around. But that's why I wasn't aggressive with the order. So I'm a little skeptical about the move. Like if it's just the 6J, I don't necessarily have any reason to think that the 6J will keep going. Well, actually, maybe I do have a reason to think the 6J will keep going. I don't know. I don't know what's causing the flow in the 6J, but they certainly could have room to move if there's really a real order coming through here. They are decoupling a little bit here. Look at that. This looks like one that will eventually move, and I'm just going to miss the train, I think. We're also getting a strong bid in the dollar here as that's happening as well. So that's not going to help the equities, right? Let's say, I don't know what the gamma is kind of looks like over in the equities right now, but a key point could be what does the options look like below 4150, right? Because that's going to be a key options location. So if we push below 4150, will some of that hedging trigger and start pushing us down even more? Oh, activist investor Nelson Peltz says his proxy fight with Disney is over and he is happy with the moves being made by CEO Robert Iger. Okay. They must have paid him off or something. I don't know. I don't see there any change over at Disney. Did I miss something? Okay, uptick. Doesn't hold. Uptick, but no bid. Okay, 1600 bid, that's better. Most of it pulls though. Looks like the market makers are still kind of trading based off of this correlation here. Bitcoin's seeing a little bit of a drop here since the top of the hour too. Oh wait, I didn't miss like a... No, there was no news at the top there. I was gonna say, I haven't heard anything from the news quack in a little while. That stack at 18.5 is now really big. What's with that? Anybody up for a reversal trade today? Testing them to see if they'll move along. They're not doing anything. So, of course, what happens down here in the micro treasuries, the positioning and everything doesn't really matter, but it kind of looks to me like some retail traders are caught in here. Like there was a decent amount of buying up in all of this. Of course, there's these big bids there at 18.5 and 18 that makes me a little bit suspicious. Like the one at 18.5 is a little unusual. But what I'm seeing in the micros here is some retail traders just went long and they are just kind of trying to hold out on the pullback. Ooh, see it shift? Hold on a second. Did they? It looks like some did pull off of the 18.5, but it wasn't a large enough one for it to show up on my ticker. But there we did see some add at 19.5 and then pull off. But then look, they're now hitting back into it and it's absorbing. I'm really tempted to take a reversal trade here, but I don't know if this is a good situation to be trying to play that. There's a little bit of a battle going on here. It's probably better to let that resolve itself first. What's the ratio between ZN and the 10-year contract? Well, so first of all, remember that ZN is really more of a 7-year. So the DVO ones aren't going to match completely. What would probably be better to do TN if you were going to try and do something like that. And I would probably need to go and redo the math. Just look at the DVO one of the 10-year and just say, you know, okay, how many micro contracts is that? But it's probably going to be a little bit less than 10. Somewhere between 7 and 10. Wow, so somebody sold 80 right there. Okay, hold on. I'm kind of keep an eye on this, but I will help you out. So if you go to the CME website, how do you get international? I don't know. I've never done that before. If we find out, let me know, because I don't know. Okay, so if you come into the Treasury Analytics, right? And then you click on Ultra 10-year, which is TN. There is the futures DV01, which stands for dollar value of a basis point. So they're saying a basis point is $95. And over here, on the micros, a basis point is 10 ticks, right? Because a basis point is 100%, right? So the dollar value of a basis point over here is $10. So it's roughly 10 to 1, but it's not quite. just a little bit off. I'm seeing some stuff in the 10-year that makes me think that this is going to reverse. The 6J also seems to be moderating itself. The 30-year concerns me a little bit, though. I suppose if you thought that it was going to reverse, then hitting the 30-year would probably be the right play, right? I guess you're not getting a bad setup right there for the micro 30s at 3.665, except for that nobody else has traded it today. I think we have to be a little bit suspicious, though, that, you know, we had a couple of big orders there kind of dancing around, and then a really big iceberg in a fill and so forth, and now it's just kind of like not doing much of anything. That's got me a little wary. That tick was not bad. Okay. Interesting. Trading Floor Audio's tweeting, the U.S. Treasury yield curve inversion reaches deepest level since 1980, says Bloomberg. 2-year yield was seen as high as 4.446 during the session, and at one point exceeded the 10-year by as much as 85 basis points. Wow, 85 basis points, that really is a lot, isn't it? Yep, that is a 4.353 versus 3.603. It really is inverted, isn't it? See, I'm starting to see the volume in the 30-year. So the whole thing is that if we're going to keep flattening today, but we're going to move back up, then the 30-year is going to move up more than the 5-year, right? And at the moment that it does look like what's happening, the 5-year has only ticked up, is still where it was last we centered it, whereas the 10 and the 30-year both up one tick. So if the 10 and the 30 tick up one more, we'll see what happens. There's also some size now above us at 20.5 and 21. So we'll also see if we trade up, if those orders pull or not. Look, there's an iceberg at 20. That's curious. Wow, and then they bought 1,000? Something's definitely going on here. Some pretty large amounts of contracts are exchanging hands here. Might be difficult to get people to nibble into 20.5 there. That 30 looks awfully menacing at the moment. I mean, 1693 is not bad, but oh, it pulled. It pulled. It pulled. Come on, hit it. Hit it. There you go. They're hitting it by 1,200 and there's still contracts on, so that's not necessarily what we want to see. The 5-year catching up to the other two as well. Oh, this is going to be really interesting to me, which way the spread goes from here on this next move. I mean, we're a little uncertain if this is going to be a reversal or not. If it is a reversal, though, whether the spread flattens or steepens is going to be, I'm really interested to find out, because this is exactly those situations I was talking about. I haven't heard anything from Akshay, but this is exactly the sort of situation I'm talking about, which is like, on this next leg, will we flatten or steepen? We've been flattening through the session. We're getting headlines about it flattening, but this could be an inflection point. So how do you make those kinds of determinations with the spreads? Okay, well now 3,000 is traded at 20.5. But look, 3,000 is traded on both sides of that. So large asks, pull price moves up. Yeah, but that's not what happened really, was it? There was a large ask, it pulled, but then there was an iceberg behind it. Right? So it pulled, it enticed people to buy it, but the offer was just an iceberg. And now look, down tick. It took almost 4,000 contracts to make it down tick. Okay, but yeah, when you're seeing like 4,000 contracts trading, there's probably some institutions involved. Okay, so now that one right there, did you see how they took 19.5 and it only took 628 contracts? That's not good for our position, right? We'll want to see what happens here at 19. Ah. So that could be a sign that the buyers are actually weak. It could also be the market maker just kind of creating some noise and wanting a bit of a pullback. There you go. So they did make 19.5 go bid again. 5 years not playing along, but and look at the one that goes back down, you get a strong offer again. So we saw somewhere around here 80 contracts sell in the micros, and now we just saw 97 contracts buy at 3.606. So I'd say we got a big battle going on here. The thing is that it's been awfully rangy. So based on that, I'm kind of thinking that there's a greater chance that we in the end move up, but that's probably at this point too iffy for me to really tell. Which maybe means I need to think about scratching this. Okay. That sure seemed to move things. Note there's a big offer there at 20.5 again. Jeez. Yeah, I don't like this because I am getting the flow that I want in the 10-year, but it's not moving the way that I want. 18.5. Dun, 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 dun. Shit. Seems to me like the market maker in the micro 10-year does think that it's gonna that rates are gonna go higher from here. Bruh. I don't know. I am seeing the 2 and 10 starting to steepen a little bit here. Yeah, it kind of is shakeouts both ways, isn't it? Although I would say after all of that interaction, it seems to be going better for the sellers. It seems to be going better for the sellers, but like the issue is that like the flows in the individual instruments are kind of contradicting each other. Like the volume in the 10-year has definitely been to the upside. The 30-year, it's definitely been to the downside, although it's maybe moderating here. And the 5-year has kind of been a little bit more rangy, but has also been to the downside. So if the trade is a flattener, the buying that I'm seeing in the 10-year may just be spreads, right? So I think I'm getting quite a few signs here that this trade's not working out. Yeah, that one wasn't very good. As soon as I say that, it ticks. God damn. I'll just take my lick there. There's a new low. Yeah, and there is some selling in the 5-year coming through here as well. Yeah, I really think that I was maybe being deceived a little bit by the 2 and 10-year spread. Even though I am, it's turning a little bit. I had a bruh moment today, more like a bruh day. Is that good or bad? What does that even mean? You know, the spread might also help explain why you'd see 2 big guys willing to exchange so many contracts there, right? Because there'd be one guy that's saying, oh, the outrights are all going to go down. And then there'd be another guy that says, I don't care. I just want the spread, right? Just like if I was trying to get short in the 30-year and there were people buying the 30-year because of the spread, I'd be more than happy to have them, right? John Grady says, fantastic volatility this morning, ... and then 2 thumbs down, which means he must think that he must not like it. It has been unusually tight, actually. For like 6 months, I was trying to save a girl, no grass. Now that I have a girl, I was trying to have a girl, no grass. Now I have a girl today. 7 girls asked me to go to Uni's Valentine's. Oh my gosh, Akshay, for real? So what you're saying is all of my advice helped, right? Thank you. I'm gonna take him out. Of course, that was such a narcissistic thing to say. Had absolutely nothing to do with me. It's because he's so ripped, man. Have you guys seen this guy? Actually, he is ripped. Oh, am I gonna get... When I had gotten out of that trade, I thought about flipping. I should have done it. I was like, I don't like doing that because then I feel like I'm revenge trading. We're not to like session lows, not even close to it, but we did see the yen move down lower on that as well. Yen moved lower, dollar and Bitcoin and everything is getting hit. S&P 500 is down from here. They're still like right at 4150, so the kind of the setup that I was suggesting there, going short at 4150, we have yet to see if that's working out. What does each column mean? So the blue column means limit buy orders. The orange red column is limit sell orders, and then the two columns in the middle are the market orders. Limit buy, limit sell, and then market orders in between. I have a video about order flow for beginners where I go into that stuff in more detail. I recommend watching that whole series. Shit. Always makes me nervous when I put a limit order out there and I immediately get filled on it, because I'm usually putting those out there to kind of test them. It's like, well, I'm okay with taking a fill, but I don't like super want it or anything. Yeah. I don't know. This flow, one of the big things that I'm seeing now is that they're stacking right. So I think I should have been in this 10 ticks ago, but I wasn't for more mental reasons, right? I feel like I just recentered it. Okay, well, there is at least some absorption at 16.5. No, remember, they always kind of start to do weird things at 16. Well, the E-mini did take a little bit further of a dive from 4150. How far does it have to go below 4150 before I would like take a victory lap? Let's say 4100. Let's say it will touch 4100 before it touches 4200. For sure. Actually, let's say 41. Let's do 100 points. Let's do 100 points. I think they will get 100 points before. I think that we'll see 4050 before we see 4250. Yep, and of course, right down there at the bottom, the absorption. I hate this. I hate this game. Well, considering how many contracts they just took out there, that offer is awfully weak. Okay, there you go. That's a little better. Oh, Mei Shun, how? That's terrible. Well, it was all your family and all your stuff safe? How bad was it for you? We're gonna get oil numbers here in a second. So when I'm trading in ZN these days, those are sim orders. And I've been giving myself a max of 5. So this sim position that I have on in ZN, you know, I started out with 5 contracts to kind of like build up some buffer zone, and then I've just been letting the final contract ride. I guess maybe yesterday I should have added a second one back on, huh? Oh well. My distant relatives are also missing, but there's nothing in close relatives. We are working hard for the people who are left after the earthquake. Some of the videos that I saw after that were really nuts. That was a really big earthquake, for sure. It's a really interesting thing geopolitically speaking, because there was a lot of tension between Turkey and the other countries and stuff, right? And now, you know, a natural disaster like that always kind of brings people together. Why do you place trades prior to the OPNI? The OPNI was OPNI sounds like a name. Maybe you should name your first child OPNI. You sure that it was? Oh, you're right. He did say that it was the open. Why do I place trades prior to the open? Well, it's maybe prior to the open for you guys in the S&P 500, but it's not prior to the open for me in the Treasuries. So I don't view it as prior to the open. Oh man, this is okay. So I'm seeing Alligator saying it seems the Bank of Japan is not ready to pivot, but they could be more flexible. Surprised how markets are sensitive to this. Alligator seems to be suggesting that there is a slow breaking news story that we're kind of slowly finding out about here in the Treasuries, because it's a Japan story. Jeez, oh geez. Yeah, the Treasuries session starts at 8:30 Eastern time, whereas the regular equities doesn't start until an hour later, right? And some of the best opportunities in the Treasuries are in that first hour. Bank of England forecasts a missing factor that could drive rates above 10%. FX explained. Ooh. That didn't sound good. I don't know. I mean, you got 10 points from it over there in the E-mini, but they're still pretty close to that 4150. Maybe they are long gamma from there. I don't know. No, I don't trade prior to my open. I have taken trades after my session, let's say, but it's usually doesn't work out for me, and I need to stop doing that. You know, like that day when I took some big losers on the off of the Fed meeting, you know, I probably just shouldn't have been trading at all during that period, because I'm not as focused. I'm not on my medication and stuff, but well, I'm having a hard time with this one, because it's either that this is just going to be a slow moving train wreck to the downside, and that we might have to like sit here forever and then eventually it goes lower. It's either that, or like the move is already over. And you already got 3 ticks up there, which is... How about alcohol? I am probably know less about alcohol than almost anybody else you'll ever meet in your life. So I probably know more than a lot of people in Utah, but still, of the people that you're going to meet in your life, I probably know less about alcohol than any of them. So it's just Coke and we can... Are you talking about Coca-Cola? Yes, people in Utah love their Coca-Cola. I knew this one girl, and the biggest thing about her person. I'm not saying this was like her whole personality. Yeah, the camera died again. Turn it back on. We're gonna have to deal with that. Maybe we're just gonna go back to the. Maybe we're just gonna go back to the 1080p. Well, I guess we definitely would if I can't record. So annoying. So. Anyways, I'm not saying this was her whole personality, but like the strongest attribute, like the thing that everybody would say about her was that she liked Pepsi. That was, and there's a lot of that in Utah. I'm assuming that you're talking about Coca-Cola because of course this is a YouTube, you know, a family-friendly, relatively family-friendly platform. And although this content is not designed for kids, I would hope that your kids should be able to watch it. And if I swear or anything, you can just, you know, you'll have to explain to them what's. No, you meant this. Oh, I've never heard that before. Is that the chemical? No, Coke and Pepsi are not owned by the same parent company. They're two separate companies. Do you know that Pepsi owns Taco Bell? That's the chemical name for cocaine. You can get my streams it throttled. You're gonna get the stream throttled actually. No, so one of my favorite books about investing is Peter Lynch's One Up on Wall Street. If you know, when I was talking earlier about you manage a portfolio of 5 stocks and all that stuff, like read that book first. It's such a good book. And one of the things that he laments about in that book, like it sounds like he's really bitter about it actually, is that Taco Bell was a stock that was just Taco Bell, and then they got bought out by Pepsi. And after they got bought out by Pepsi, not only did you not make as much off of the stock anymore, but like all of the decisions that Pepsi made in relation to Taco Bell were bad, and now Taco Bell isn't very good. You're just typing out chemical, maybe, but that sounds to me like the sort of thing that could get you on an FBI watch list, you know? Dude, there's this one channel that's like, oh my gosh, I love this sort of stuff actually. You know, like the most toxic chemicals, the strongest acids and that sort of stuff. And you can see, and the first comment in the underneath of the video, I've enjoyed being added to an FBI watch list with all of you. That was. And it was like the stuff that he was talking about. It was like, he talked about these chemicals. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Let's find out more about it. And then you go to the Wikipedia page, and like, there is a Wikipedia page for it, but there was not very much on there. And the guy in the video knew more about it than the Wikipedia page did, which suggests to me that it was a subject that was probably being suppressed. Right, like he was talking about, well, one was acids, but another one was nerve agents, and he went into the details about how these different nerve agents actually harm you, how they actually kill you. And he was talking about like theoretical nerve agents that the Russians had made and stuff like that, like that we can't prove that they made, but they think that Russia made and stuff. It's like, it was crazy stuff. It's a good video though. I enjoyed it. Hmm. 5 years seems to be pushing down again. And the Japanese yen seems to be pushing down again. I need to zoom out here on the Japanese yen. I mean, this is a pretty decent move down in the Japanese yen. But it's like just a retracement of the upside that we saw earlier. Oh, Alligator linked us here. Japan ruling party said to be divided if Kishida seeks Bank of Japan pivot. That raises a bit of doubts about Japan pushing for a change in monetary policy, or perhaps the opposite, depending on how you want to look at it. However, I'd prefer if we do get something more concrete, as recent communication has been suggesting that the government does indeed want to seek potential policy changes moving forward, or at least be afforded that flexibility. If anything else, it goes to show how sensitive the currency is at the moment to any headlines surrounding the Bank of Japan and Kuroda's successor. Bank of Japan government to, or sorry, not the Bank of Japan government. There's no such thing. The Japanese government to present nominees for new Bank of Japan governor on the 14th of February, says sources. That will include the nominees for the deputy governor's position as well, which will be presented to Parliament. That fits with the earlier report from here. Mark that down in your calendars. This Valentine's Day is going to be quite an eventful one, not just for dinner dates. Okay, so that makes sense that would be that could create this move. And that would also explain why it played out the way that it did. Does it tell us that we'll continue to see more flows to the downside? Well, the news that I read there, I'm not 100% sure if I see that as like explicitly good or bad, the currency. It looks like they are kind of suggesting that it is bad, the currency, but so we may see future orders on it, but it might be slow. Is what I think I'm getting from all of that. For me, I think that I'm gonna have to scratch this one because I'm not gonna hold this after our session. So I will scratch that and take a -8 for the day. It was actually probably -9 when you count the commission for this one, but. If YouTube has a problem with chemistry, they will have a problem with life. I'm telling you, man. There's some things that it's like the government doesn't want you to know about, and the platforms do play along with them. They do. I mean, it's been proven from all this congressional testimony and all that, right? You've been watching that. The government CIA said, oh, we don't like that their people are saying this or they're saying that, and Twitter are like, okay, done. Just did whatever they told them to do. So if the FBI comes to YouTube and says, hey, you need to stop letting your creators talk about nerve gas, are you gonna tell them no? I'm going to tell them, no, we think that it's important that people be able to learn about different types of nerve gas. No. Is DXFeed the only futures platform with stocks order book? I would not say that it is the only platform that has that, but it's the most accessible that I've seen. Man, that is such bullshit that as soon as I get out, it moves back down and I'm up, and I would be up 5 ticks. F that. I mean, I think that that's mostly just bad luck, but man, does that piss me off. That sucks. I don't know. It ticked back up. This might sit here for a while. It might have difficulty here, and then maybe at like 9, let's say 9:15, maybe at 9:15 we could get going again. Isn't it? Oh, but can you get can you get market depth for stocks with Denali? No, it came back. maybe the market maker is saying, Seth, if you had just been a little bit more patient, I would have been more than happy to let you out at +5. But really, where did we take our loss at? It was way back there, right? It was 603, 611. I wanted it to be out at 605. So again, and then it slipped up, and then I went, and then the best I could have gotten was 15. So yeah, looking at that, that was just one trade kind of going into the other, but it was still a scratch, so that's okay with that one. So it was just the one loser, and I don't know. Should I have actually taken that trade? I don't know. I think that given the circumstances and what I was seeing, I don't think that I was like trading against my strategy or anything like that. I do think I made a mistake though, in that I probably read some of the upside action and the order flow in the 10-year incorrectly because of the 2 and 10-year spread change. Even now here at this point, the 10-year is seeing more buying than the other instruments. So I do think I made a mistake there. I think risk management wise, it was only -7. I think I'm okay there. And really it was just this other move was not really going to be something on my board. Not really going to be something on my board, and it did kind of move fast, so I don't think I should feel too bad about missing it. What is this? The key to understanding the honey badger labor market, the services sector. Many executives and business owners in services industry say they are finding it easier to recruit and fill jobs, says Nick Timoros. John Grady saying he caught a little bit of that move, but it was short-lived. Does feel a little short-lived. From here, I think that we could have more movement, but it's difficult for me to judge if it will really be more to the downside or if we're going to get a meaningful reversal here. Bank of England officials split over future rates paths, says Reuters. Bailey very uncertain about inflation pressures. Haskell still open to forceful upward rate moves. Tenero may consider voting for rate cut. Hill says Bank of England needs to see it through on tightening. Wow, that's very, very big amount of disagreement, isn't it? Futures Trader 71 says like he's in a massive swing trade starting tomorrow, so no trader bites. That's weird. Okay. Why would you pick tomorrow as the start of your swing trade? Well, yeah, I don't know if it's going to give us much more before we go. Did the camera turn off again just there? Don't know. Well, I have to go into the settings. Maybe I do have something to tell it, like if you're not recording for like an hour to turn off or something. But so for those of you that missed the start of the stream because we like crashed the stream a bunch of times and stuff, I was trying to make it so that I could make like TikTok videos out of the stream. So I wanted, you know, if I come in and I just take this little one, you know, this little box that we have down in the bottom left corner of me right now, and then you blow it up to 1080p and whatnot, it doesn't look very good, right? So I used my cam link this morning to do the camera. So that's why you might notice the camera looks a little bit sharper and a little bit nicer. It's because it's doing 4K and downsampling it, and that results in a better image quality. So I was doing that so that we could get better image quality for a vertical format image. But I was also doing that because I thought that I had figured out how to fix the recording problems, because before it was just like outright crashing, and I got it to the point where, you know, it'll run. But when I do it that way, it'll run for a few minutes and then eventually later it will crash. So we've got two problems with this setup, right? One is that it causes OBS to crash, and two is that the camera does not want to stay on for that long, even though it's on standby. So what do we do about that? I don't know. Could also check is it hot? Yeah, it could be overheating. That might be why it's turning itself off, is that it's overheating. This is frustrating. Kind of seems to me like if Sony comes out with another camera, I don't think I'd go with the FX30. There are some things that I like about the FX30, but I think that if they made something that was more like the FX30 but was a full frame, that maybe I should upgrade to it. I mean, I probably couldn't justify much of an upgrade though. So if it's overheating, then really the answer there is that I need to like attach a fan to it, right? Now that's interesting. They are actually 2 ticks higher, but they're not back to 3.61. So I'm kind of... That was really unlucky. Oh, it was 3.615. Was where I was in at, so I guess it's okay. Could have lost $5 on that. I scratched it. Attach a water cooling block to it. Yeah. I really do wonder. So like the thing that drives me crazy about it is that there's like so there's a flip out screen, right? And if you flip the screen out, that increases the amount of like cooling considerably, right? And I just don't understand why they don't have an exposed metal heat sink behind that flip out screen. Like, it's really, seems like it would be easy. And like the thing is that I could probably go in and make that myself if I was like really savvy. So I have seen people do it. I've also seen people just make pieces of plastic that fit in there exactly. So could do that. So I was running into that issue with recording too. And it wasn't as big of a problem because it's winter. That's what I was saying. The FX30, they have a fan in it. So it would probably be better to have one that is focused on video. But the FX3, I think it is, which is the full frame one, it doesn't have the streaming bit. Although maybe the streaming bit doesn't matter, because if I'm going to use the 4K and all that, but then all of this really doesn't matter if I can't figure out how to get OBS to record without crashing. So I'll mess around with it again today, and Friday we'll probably have a stream where we crash like every 5 minutes trying to sort it out. In the meantime, stay excellent.